with the most losing seasons in the past 2 decades.
Hey, but nah, shout out to Mark Bland. We don't count Detroit. Detroit don't count. Cleveland don't count. They're worse than us.
Nah, well, we not this past 2 decades.
Nah. Shit.
Have more winning seasons.
Raiders been way more competitive, bro. Remember when they went 8-8 and should have gotten the playoffs with with Campbell and what's his face?
Detroit had a few years of that, and so did Cleveland.
Nah, they suck. They just had Cleveland had that fluke ass year with Derek Anderson.
Shitty ass years too.
They had that fluke. We never went 0-16.
But I'm saying
Oakland never went 0-16.
They've had more like 8-8 seasons than we have.
That's because the divisions were trash. Go back and look. There was a stretch where the NFC North was trash. Aaron Rodgers got hurt one year.
I really don't give a fuck because honestly, you can say whatever you want.
The Raiders are the worst run.
The Raiders are fucking sorry, bro.
They're the worst run, but they're not the worst.
Lillard said it. Even Dame Lillard said it. They are the worst, bro.
They're the worst run.
The Raiders are literally the fucking worst.
They're the worst run, but they're not the worst. Talent part, like team for team, they weren't the worst, but they're the worst run organization in the past 20 years. By far.
I'm saying.
The only person, I would say the Knicks are a better run organization than the fucking Raiders the past 20 years.
I don't know about that.
I
can tell you why. Because at least the Knicks are true to their fucking losing culture, and they just constantly fuck up and they're stupid. They don't ever actually, like, the one time they had success, they blew it with Mike Woodson and Melo. They blew it. And they've been sucky ever since. But they don't, like, screw themselves out of draft position or just take horrible players over. Like, the Knicks just stay true to sucking. The Raiders give you false hope every year.
Here's the thing with the Raiders.
I'd rather be a Knicks fan than a Raiders fan some days.
Here's the thing with the Raiders. They're the team that you love to hate and you love to love. Like, when you talk about Cleveland and Detroit, like, yeah, those teams have had some good runs back in the day. But the Raiders were a staple of the league for 30 years, damn near. And now, this past 20 years, second half of that, to just be a laughingstock, to be the only organization that's had an owner literally work his way up from a fucking player, and this is the legacy that you leave. Like, I was thinking about it. Honestly, I didn't even write a fucking column this week. I wrote 15 columns, and this week, didn't say shit. I was just like, I'm not writing this fucking column. You guys don't even show up every other week, so why am I going to show up? But anyway.
You don't want to, like, bring yourself to put that negative energy out before the end of the year talking about the Raiders. It's upsetting.
But back. That's what I'm saying. We haven't even really been talking about the Raiders a lot this year because we're Raiders fans, so we always talk about the Raiders. And this year it's just kind of like, well, let's see. Like, this team's shown glimpses of Raiders football, but it's not all the way there. And for as much credit as people can give Gruden for getting these amateur guys to play above their potential, there's also some talented guys who are underperforming or making mistakes that are fucking up the team. And that goes back to my point about having the only fucking owner literally work his way up from a player, play every position. It's like, I get it. You want to chase these ghosts and this dream of what Raider football is and stuff, but it hasn't been that for 20 years. 1, they haven't won in 20 years. 2, and 3, like, don't say you have this fucking win at all costs mentality just because it's on the fucking walls and matches the silver and black. Like, bro, Mariota should have played last week. Agreed. You know why? Not because Derek Carr isn't a starting quarterback. Not because it's all Derek Carr's fault. But because that's the hot hand. That's the hot hand, and that's what Al would have done to try and win because he literally did that. He literally did that. That was the only way the Raider quarterbacks changed guard was because one got hurt, another one came in, seized the opportunity, and that was it. Commitment to excellence. Not a commitment to Christianity.
Damn, now you're going to get us fucked up. They're going to put hits on our lives. What are you saying?
I'm just saying, man. Everyone knows I love Carr.
You mean conservative? You mean conservative white Christianity?
Carr is probably the best, Raiders that I've seen. Like, as far as playing in the silver and black for a long time at a proficient level, like that's Carr. Started as a rookie, worked his way up, did what he had to do, but at the same time, like, go with the hot hand, man. That's what being a Raiders is about.
He did give a spark when he came in, and like ride that spark out. It's almost like, it's kind of like seeing Fitzmagic come in and stuff, and like still give us the two. I think. Yeah, I mean, Fitzmagic. Give him whatever he's done in his career. I think the whole reason that Miami is in the playoff contention is because of Fitzpatrick, and it sucks that they like. I know they drafted Tua, and I know they drafted Tua for the future and stuff. But that team is where they are because of Fitzpatrick, and hands down, if they don't start Fitzpatrick, they don't play him this week. Then
Fitzpatrick has COVID.
Oh, that's right.
So does Cooper Kupp.
See,
everybody got COVID. By the way, dope Misfit shirt.
My whole thing with this, like 3 years ago, again, going back to the JDR comparison, but 3 years ago, that team under Del Rio, the second year, Carr came back and they underachieved and the season kind of got away from them. But I remember played a game versus the Miami Dolphins, Ryan Tannehill. Raiders could have won that game. That was a game that no boom fucking went in the air. But yeah, they could have won that game. And they lost, of course, as they do, on some dumb shit. And sure enough, that Miami team went to the playoffs. And now, here we are again, 3 years later. What's changed? Both teams have been shitty since then, except for, the Dolphins made the playoffs that year, and now the Dolphins are going to make the playoffs again this year. So it just really speaks to organizational culture. Like, you can lose, you can take all these draft picks, but if you don't develop them, it really doesn't fucking matter.
And other than USC, nobody fails at developing players more than the Raiders.
Yeah, and they don't pick that well.
Yeah, shout out to Florida, by the way, the Florida Gators. Choke job.
Yeah. Tasks. What happened there? He got benched the whole game, didn't he?
Yeah, but it wasn't really his fault. They were just not good, and also, unfortunately for the Packers, we were talking about NFC news earlier. All-Pro left tackle David Bakhtiari tore his ACL in practice.
Dang.
Yeah, I heard about that. I
feel like you're not sad.
Huh?
I feel like you're not sad. I see that look on your face. You're kind of a little bit happy. These smiles.
It's funny. When I took my dog out to the park today, and I met a guy that was wearing a Chicago Bears hat, walking his dog, and we were talking about that. And he told me about that, and I was like, I don't wish that upon anybody, but it's the fucking Packers, and
you need to play.
We need to win to get in.
I just think it's funny.
AJ Dillon went off too.
I just think it's funny, like, how the Packers always find some way to create adversity for them. So, here they are. We're talking about them. They have a top 10 defense. They actually are getting a running game, playing balanced, top 10 running game. Still have Aaron Rodgers. Devontae's the guy. All these things the Packers needed, and even the offensive line was, relatively healthy.
An elite offensive line, pass blocking wise.
So if the Bears beat the Packers, I'm going to go crazy.
Oh, I'm gonna shit my pants.
Is your dog gonna shit their pants too?
My dog will probably try to eat my shit.
And yeah, man, and just to go back to Raiders again one more time, because that's
speaking of eating shit.
Seriously, but even with the Bears, right? Everyone was the beginning of the season, end of last season. maybe the Raiders didn't. Maybe the Bears didn't win the Khalil Mack trade after all. Look, here's his stats, and here's the stats of David Arnett, Brian Edwards, and Josh Jacobs. Well, now guess what? Look at where we are. The end of the season. Who's still in the playoffs and who is not? So, I love Josh Jacobs. He's a good player. Edwards has some talent. Arnett could be something or he could be a bust. I don't know. We'll see. But I know for a fact Khalil Mack is a baller and a player and a leader. And I can't say that about those other three just yet. So, again, man, all the receipts are adding up. Like,
I just want to point out.
That's why as much hope as the Raiders give you, like,
they take it away.
You really look at it. Yeah, and that's the shitty part is, like, we talk about trying to capture this old identity, these ghosts, but you can't have it both ways. You can't say, I'm a gunslinger head coach, but I'm going to fucking kick a field goal from the 2-yard line when my offensive line is dominating the shit out of everyone and nobody knows if my QB's going to take off or I'm going to hand it off. Like,
well, does that show you that John Gruden is out of touch of today's NFL?
Something, but even just the way the roster's set up, it's like, okay, you sign these veterans at the beginning of the year, the Alkamara, the Eli Apples, like, you know, Demarius Randall, and you say, oh, I want these guys to show these young guys how to compete.
You cut all
compete
of them.
with them. But then you cut all of them.
All of them.
So what does that show to your young players? One, and two, you saw what the product is when you just run with the young players.
Abrams was a bad pick. Farrell was a bad pick. Farrell was a waste of a pick. Like, they could have had Devin White, who's an all-pro linebacker. He's been an all-pro every year he's been in the league. Him and Lavonte David, who's, like, criminally slept on, has Hall of Fame stats. But you literally could have had Devin White. Even if you traded back, you still could have got Devin Bush. If you traded back even further, you could have had you could have had 4 first-round picks if you trade from 4 to, like, the 20s. Oh, and I posted this in the group chat. I'm on Twitter. I've been on Twitter. I'm in Twitter jail for like the next 5 days, but that's a whole other story. Bullshit. It's bullshit. Free Kenny. Fuck that. I didn't do anything. I didn't do nothing. But
stop sharing fucking fake news.
No, I didn't share fake news at all, bro. I shared what Booger said, and then I just had a comment that simply said, Coon's gonna coon. And then, boom, instantly, 7-day Twitter ban. I was like, what the fuck?
He didn't even get fact checked. He got Twitter banned.
It was the video of him saying shit. And I was like, yeah, he pretty much blamed one black dude, Haskins, and said, see, this is how all black people are. And I'm like, the fuck? Your name is Booger. Shut the fuck up. All I retweeted was Coon's gonna coon. I don't respect any grown man named Booger. I don't care if his real name is Anthony. Get the fuck out of my face. Your name is Booger. You fat, nasty piece of shit. I don't care if you were good at LSU. I hated him on the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. This dumbass, like, mushmouth, and his head he has like a meaty head. Like when we get like oven roasted turkey, like in big ass slabs of meat at my job, like his head is shaped like that, like a big ass just fucking hunk of meat, and it's annoying. It's like, is that one of those fake masks from like Big Mama's house? Is that really your face? Do you have that much of a fat ass meathead? Yeah, you do. And apparently you say dumb shit, but I get a Twitter ban. Okay, I'll see y'all next year on Twitter. It's cool. It's fine. But back to what I was saying. In relation to all the bullshit that's going on with the Raiders and their bad draft picks and their bad strategic, I just want to point out, David Arnett was not projected to be a first-round pick like that. And guess, he went at 19. You know who was at 22? Justin Jefferson. Oh, shit. The leading leader in receivers. He's top 10 in receiving as a rookie. Oh, you know who else? They passed on Patrick Queen. He's like top 5 in tackles, all tackles. They passed on Jalen Reagor, who at least has a punt return for a touchdown. What the fuck? Like, Henry Ruggs isn't even doing that on special teams for the Raiders. And then you got old-ass fucking the dust keeper, the dust mite, Jason Witten, running his little 3-yard fucking slant or 3-yard pass to the flats.